Hey everyone, welcome in the garage. I'm over here. It's really wet today. It's raining out. This thing's slowly starting to dry. I'm going to blow it off with compressed air. I'm going to bring you back in a few minutes. We're going to get started on a few things today. Mostly fluid changes and, poking in a little bit deeper. We're going to get in here a little bit deeper. There's a few things I have to do, so we'll move the lift up and down. And let's get to work. I think we'll drain the oil first. So let's do that. All right, let's get the old oil out. Now, I put in some of that diesel and some Kero, so I had been running it for a little while. There it goes. Yeah, it's black. It doesn't feel bad. It feels like it's still lubricating, but it's black. Generally, when it's real black like that, right? I could tell you it's got a lot of carbon in it because it's not running right. That one cylinder, the right cylinder is not right. And I also see, an engine bolt coming loose. I don't know if it's loose or if I think it's missing a bushing. So we're going to have to track down bushings or make them. And that's up here. It's up underneath that. So we'll have to, that's part of what I'm doing today is we're going to see what's going on with it. So we're going to let that drain for a little while. Let's go get the oil filter out.
A few moments later.
So I got a proper oil, supposedly it's the correct oil filter. It's supposed to be genuine. Kohler 52 space 050 space 02-S. And then I got some Rotella 5W40. We're also going to put some Lucas in. I'm going to go and look at all these wires here, right? All these wires are just like laying about, right? One of them was up in the fins. So that's never a good thing. So that's another thing we got to do. We also got to check this. This is to the clutch for the PTO. And I also see some more grease fittings. So we have quite a number of grease fittings here. So let's go grab a couple of rags, and I'll shove some rags in there, and then we'll crack the oil filter. Oh my, that's on there tight. This is a Russo. Right, let's let that just drain a little bit. So this was a Russo. RussoPower.com. I'm going to look that up and see. It doesn't smell too bad. I mean, it's not super old. Like, it doesn't smell rancid. There's some kind of connection here or something. What the hell is that bulbous thing? Something going on, right? That's what we're here for. Let's go find the oil. So look, 10/9/19, right? Leak tested. So this oil is not that old, but what came out of the filter, though, you can see is pretty black. And that's mostly because it's not running well. So RussoPower.com, part number L28. I'm gonna go look that up and see. So I'm going to use the Rotella synthetic extreme temperature 5W40, and I'm also going to put in some Lucas heavy duty oil stabilizer. Okay, and let's just put a little bit more in. I put in some already. That should be enough. I already put some in. I just wanted to show you how thick it is. All right, it's great stuff. That should do it. All right, and I filled up the oil filter once. That should be enough too, because it's going to spill. All right, so let's just shove this in. Just hand tighten it. This way it doesn't spill all over. It spilled a little bit. That's why you don't need to completely fill it. That's tight, hand tight, right? But tight. Alright, I'm going to go, it takes 1.7 liters, about 3.5 quarts. So we have to come up here. I still feel heat on the engine. We have to come up there, And I'm going to add that oil in. I put a little bit of Lucas. And we'll have to check the dipstick just to make sure. But it smells nice. Tractor's starting to smell cleaner and nicer. Yeah, there's an odor to things that when you get them going good. So to fill this up almost all the way, this container is about 1,000 milliliters. Oh, it's gonna like that. The Rotella's got all the nutrients it needs for a healthy. Is this a boy or a girl? I don't know. Right? It'll tell me, I guess, eventually. You know, people seem to name these things. Honestly, I haven't spent enough time with it. All right, let me put some more oil in there and we'll check it. All right, the dipstick is nice. It's right here. Conveniently located. What do we got? I'd say it's just about on the money. It can be a little bit much, but well, you got to run it to fill the oil filter properly. It's a little shy. We're just going to put a little bit more in, and then we'll run it to make sure, and then we'll move on to the next thing.
5 minutes later.
Okay, so now we can get up underneath here. We'll go all the way back there, and we'll drain the tranny fluid. And I can see it's leaking a little bit from this hose, and it could also be the clamp is not good. They tell you in the instruction manuals to remove this hose. I don't know why you would want to do that. It's definitely leaking from that hose. Now this isn't really the right filter. I actually bought the same filter mistakenly. I'm going to need 2 hands for that. I can't find the rating for the microns. They want a 25 micron filter with no backflow preventer. All right. So this one, I don't know what the micron is, and I'm pretty sure it has a backflow. All right. So let's get that out and we'll see. It's a pretty huge filter, so I'm going to blow with the compressed air here a little bit too. I want to get the whole area as clean as possible. I can get a good look at it. And we did pressure wash it, so we got a pretty fair amount of the junk off, but there's still some in here. Yeah, that looks real good, this stuff. It's real pink. Does not look bad at all. Yeah, it's in good shape. That fluid's just about mint. So this is an STP S16. That's what this was. That's why I ordered it. Apparently somebody knew what they were doing, but it's really not the right one, right? So there's nothing wrong with this because it has a bypass in here, and I think you can actually see the spring in there. I'll show you later, but we don't want that. It's not particularly tight. I just threw a napkin in the pan, you know, in the catch can here, and wiped it around a little bit, and it's real clean. There's no sediment. Oh my gosh, look at that. That's beautiful. Just a little bit by the plug. Oh wow, I can see it. It's like brand new. So somebody did this. All right, let's let that evacuate. Should be a lot in there. It's like 6 quarts in the whole system. But that's a good sign, because this is really the transmission fluid is really the entire hydraulic system with all of its servos and its pumps.
Eventually,
you can see it looks pretty good. I see a little bit of, you know, sort of like around here, a little bit of like rainbow. Very small amount, right? So there's just a very small amount of junk in here, just real tiny. All right, let's continue. All right, that's a shot of it up in there. I want to go peek my head up in there a little bit more too. They're suggesting that we remove the lower hose and replace the clamp, but I don't see why you would want to do that, because everything would basically drain down this hose here down to there and then out the back. Let me pull the plug. So maybe there was another model, or I don't know. I mean, I'm getting what I can get from the various information that I can find, right? There's a lot of PDFs. You know, I went to Simplicity's website, but there's a number of models, slight model changes. And remember, this thing ran for 10 years. They had this product out, this whole tractor and this series. There's a joint there, right? A Zerk fitting I can get to. And, well, there's the tag, too. Look, you can see the model tag. It's upside down, but nice. All right, nice little feature is you can fill the transmission from here. All right, I just took the cap off, so I'm going to put Type F fluid in. So here's what I put in. Mag 1. This was on Amazon. You know, everything's going up in price. This is the cheapest I could find. FMX technology, friction management for extreme protection. But it's got to meet or exceed the Type F recommendation. So that's what's important. And it's fresh fluid. So underneath looks good. Let's go take a look at the level, right? And you can see. So they say an inch. It's probably just a scotch low, but we need to check it again after we run it for a little bit. So taking 4 quarts, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. And I put what was in this container in here, and that's almost full, right? And you could see I wiped, when we first removed the little bit that came out of the filter, I wiped the container, and look how pink it looks, right? There's no dirt or silt. And you could see this is what was just leaking out of the very bottom of the transmission, and a little bit what was in the filter, right? So in the bulk of the transmission fluid, there was some stuff in there. But, you know, you really want transmission fluid to be pristine. So I think we've achieved that. All right. Just do a little walk around. I think that's it for the day. It's already almost 7 o'clock, and, you know, I got started a little bit late on this. Just climbed underneath there, and I lubed as many points as I could. Tomorrow we'll blow it compressed air. Knock off whatever else we can. Scope out some more of the pivot points. We have a lot of pivot points to do. Some of them, hopefully, I can show you. It's hard to get the camera underneath there. All right, Arch's Garage. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
The next day.
I decided to take this cover off, and I'm glad I did. So not only do we need to have a little bit more cleaning to do, but I can show you here, right, we have an issue with the splines here into this collet or bushing on the drive shaft. Let's go walk around the other side. But I am going to start by just kind of cleaning and blowing some of this off, right? These buttons are, I'm not sure what they are. There's some kind of valve or release valve. But this is the pump, effectively. Now let's walk around to the other side. And so here's the drive shaft going up to the motor, right? It's all the way back in here. And this is the drive shaft, the output of the motor going into the input of the pump. Let's walk over to the other side. Okay, now you can see here, right, it's been, sorry, I keep kicking the camera. It's been welded here, and the splines are beat up. So somebody said, well, they probably said, well, the pump is no good because the front half of the pump would need to be rebuilt. Maybe they couldn't get the shaft or the part, so they just basically welded the back end of the drive shaft on. And I noticed from just having the side panel off over here, right, and it probably, I see some weld up there too. There may be some more issues. I noticed it was wobbly, right? It wasn't running true. And keep in mind, these motors run up to 3,400 RPM plus or minus, 100 RPM. That's a problem. That's a big, big problem. That's an expensive problem right here, especially for an older tractor that this stuff is not around anymore, right? This is a big issue. Now, I have seen some pumps and things for sale. The thing is I need to find, if I can find a transmission for this with a good shaft on it and a good drive shaft, right, then maybe I can fix it. But it's not a problem right now, okay? You're going to get a lot of vibration when the motor's up at 3,400 RPMs, and I do feel a lot of that. Now, you don't always need it there, but you're going to beat the hell out of it. It's going to come apart. Not to mention, it can also beat up the bearings on the back of the motor, the crankshaft. So it's a fix, and it's a field fix, but it was to get the tractor to keep it going. So she's not pristine. You got a major issue here. That's a big problem. All right, so what I'm doing here is it was missing a bolt, so this whole lever assembly, every time you move it, was shifting everything. So I lubricated in here, but to get to this, I found a bolt, correct bolt, and I'm just going to work that into play. It's a tight fit. It's the right size bolt, but it's just tight to get in here. So I'm going to work that. We're going to replace that. And again, I see this hose. This is a return line, I believe, because it's a push-on connector, and that may have been replaced. What I don't like, there is a sheath over this, but I don't like that it passes through the frame here. So we got to keep an eye on that. There is another sheath on it. See? But this line's getting old. Okay, so they want you to oil this. This should be greased, but you'd have to take it apart. It was pretty stuck. So I'm going to oil it both sides, but try to loosen up some of the rust, because it hasn't been done in a while. We'll use a little PB blaster along with the oil. Alright, we'll do the same thing on this side, and then I'll follow up with some oil. And you can get grease in there, but they tell you to oil it, right, to show you the oiling points. I'll work that in there. I also got the knuckles. I was able to get grease in these. The fittings are on the other side. They want you to oil here too, so we're going to oil that again. I'm just going to stay with this. See, look, so you probably can't see it. See, it's leaking. Alright, so now I'm going to put the clamp on that now. As I squeeze this clamp, I can actually see red coming. I don't know if you can see it. I think you can. You can see red juice getting squeezed out. So I think it could be that clamp. So if it is, we'll know, right? It's pretty tight. We're going to leave it like that. And if it dries up and I notice that it seems to be dry, then next time we come back in here for a little service, what we'll do is we'll cut that clamp off, the original one that's on there, and move the clamp we're just putting on now down, right? So let's get back to a few other oiling points and we'll get this thing down.
Day 3.
Right, so I took the inspection cover off, and you can see there's acorns and gack in there, right? So there's only just the one inspection cover, and it may even be a place to get to that U-joint that's there, grease fitting or something. But in the meantime, right, I'm going to get the vacuum, we're going to suck that out, and then next time I pressure wash, right, we'll be able to clean out in there, and we can blow some rusty metal primer into that. There's another spot down in here where they want you to oil. This is the pivot. But here on the tie rods, this one feels like it's a little loose. They want you to get oil up in that. And what we're going to do is we're going to oil it, and then that one feels a lot loose though. And then we'll get some spray wax in that. But all this was real dry. Yeah, that's good. And then, yeah, that's a little loose, right? So we may want to replace those. I think McMaster Car will have that, right? That's a standard style tie link. But this was pretty raw. I'm going to check them again a little bit. Now we're going to get in here. I did the other side, so we'll be able to get those, the kingpin and this knuckle pivot point. Once material comes out, right, which it just did, I do it a couple of times, and then when I do this again, which won't be very long from now, because we're going to like I said, we're going to wash the tractor one more time underneath here so we could do some painting. But this one did not want to move. And what it'll do, yeah, that was tough, is it'll move material, the old grease out of the way, and then as we move it around, right, it'll push any dirt and old material out. So as I drive it around a little bit in the in-between time, and when we do it again, we want to look for a fresh lube coming out the top. So by that point, it'll be good. Now they want us to just squirt. Basically, they want us to hose it down. You know, they're operated in difficult conditions. You can also come back. I've been coming back on a lot of this and putting in chain wax. After I shoot some oil in and wipe everything down, I come back and do a little bit of chain wax. And that should tighten it up pretty good. All right, I'm going to clean up all the oil mess I'm making. Wipe up a little bit. I'm probably going to want to put a little something protective on there because we're not going to be using that attachment for a while. That's the main output shaft generally to the deck, the cutting deck. So we're going to want to put something on that and maybe cap it with something. So I'm going to work on that next too. Yeah, see, so we're almost done. We have a little bit more to do in the front. And I can see somebody replaced a bolt over there on the engine, so we still have more things to deal with. All right, we're almost there. And then I greased that shaft as best I could, so I'll probably just go in there and rag it down and just leave that thin coating on before I'm done. I'll get my rag and push it all in. And they want me to lube this here too, right? This is the pivot point in the front. So I'm going to lube that, and they just want you to use oil. We'll put a little more oil on this guy. So I'm going to come around the front. I'm going to do those, and then I want to take a belt off and see, because those belts are pretty naggy. I was able to get in there. That took about 6 pumps, and very little came out. I don't want to over pump the bearings. This is actually a cap. I don't know if it's going to stay on, but if you see what it is, it's actually the cap for the tube on the grease gun. When you get a new tube, it kind of stays on there. It's not going to stay, but look, it's there for now. We got all this done here, so lubed in here. This took about 4 pumps and stuff came out the back. It's just temporary because we have to take these apart to change the tires and to get in there and see what's going on and service all of that. Everything else is lubricated. I cleaned up this shaft here, this spline shaft, and then oiled and lubed it. The pivot is loose. I think this is the pivot for the deck. And then I came over here and I scraped with the screwdriver. I got all that junk out. It should drain now. We'll wash it another day. We'll acid etch. We'll get some rusty metal primer in there. That's another day. All right, so my next project, you can see this washer is not correct. This whole setup. So this goes to, it is the interlock between the drive lever and the brake lever, because as you push the brake down to brake, you're actually pushing off the drive, the transmission drive lever, right? So you're pushing it backwards, right? So as you push the brake forward, you're actually removing your drive speed, right? By pushing the drive lever back towards neutral, all right? So, or if you're in reverse, it pushes it forward back to neutral. So it's always trying to, whenever you apply the brake, it has to remove the transmission at the same time, remove the, the speed or throttle of the transmission. So let's pull this off. And then we're going to come back in with some chain wax. And I want to pick up some Moly Lube for the next time I do this, because Moly Lube is great for things like this. It's a little heavier. It's a dry lube. It goes in wet, gets into things, and then stays. So I could see, this wasn't a terrible idea, but we're going to get this off. Let's take this off. It hit you? Okay, now we can put the welcome back cotter pin in, for those of you that know the reference. There's a couple of ways you could do it, but we're going to try it this way. So I got a proper washer in there. And I think this one is okay. I'll have to kind of squeeze in there and look. All right, that's proper. Right and proper. Now we'll get a little bit of our chain wax in there. And it'd be nice after the next wash, right? We'll come back up in here and then we'll actually throw some black paint on everything and then re-lube again. And this is where Molly Lube really helps, but we'll get Molly Lube. I got it on the list. Pretty sure I do. I'm going to go put it on the list. I thought I did, but just in case I didn't. Better than oil. Right, we're going to go over everything underneath here. Oh, yeah. Some of it we can get from up top, but I'm too old for this stuff. I'm back here. People say, oh, you never get too old for it. Well, you actually do. You actually do. You know, getting old is a privilege. It's not a right. Now, what's this? What does that feel like? Uh-oh. Okay. I got to put that back. It was just sticking out. Like I said, I already got this with oil, so... But you really want to lube this stuff up. Get that spring. Because all of these guys here, perfect spots for Molly Lube. Now, up at here... But in here, we definitely... I think we're going to want to really... We're going to want to get out. Let me go get the... What the hell am I saying? I'm having brain farts. Let's get the pump gun. This is a grease point, so there's another grease fitting here. There should also be another grease fitting on that axle shaft somewhere. And interesting point is that there's another place here for some other kind of spindle, for some kind of rocker device there. All right, let me see. We'll get that. And this is another lifting point, right? I think, is it this one here? It's that one there. Up here. This is where we have to get... I ordered some 5/8 clevis pins. We have to make a lifting rod, which then goes to the front of the machine. It's a piece of 3/4 steel, which I have. So it connects here, and it comes down a little bit of a bend, just for clearance purposes. And it goes out through that hole in the front, and that's what connects to your implements in the front to lift them up and down, pull them down. So we're going to be working on that very soon, because I have the steel now. It's 2. This guy's seen anything coming out? Not yet. That's 4 pumps. Well, that should be enough, but let's go a little bit more. That's 6 pumps. It could just be going into a cavity somewhere, but that should be enough. It was 6. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, it's coming out. Oh, yeah. Why didn't you guys tell me? You're not paying attention. Let me get a tissue. I need a tissue. I know it's glary underneath here, because I have to be able to see too. It's a good amount of old grease. Like I said when I first started cleaning it, you know, you're not going to be able to get to everything on the first pass. It's a lot to do, and it was all very dirty. What I like about the chain wax is it goes in so thin, it's like a penetrant. And then, excuse me, then you get the next step where it turns into a wax. Let's go around top and see what we can find. This is the speed lever. So I got this side of the joint, and it's much better. Oil and then chain wax. They tell you oil. So I did a lot of oil, and then the chain wax, wiped it a little bit. And I also got the throttle lever up in here. Plenty of chain wax on that, and then this feels nice. All right, I think that's about it. All right, there's nothing else in here. We can paint now. All right, what that is, well, on the sides is some clear, which needs to dry a little bit more. Mostly just to protect the stickers in case I want to keep the stickers for now, which I do. I want to keep them for a while. And then I can tape over the stickers or whatever and paint and do whatever I want to do. So the sides has got some old clear. It was just whatever was in the can, some urethane clear coat from, I think that was for when I was my quad, my Raptor. But the rest of it is heavy duty corrosion inhibitor. They used to call this Cosmoline. It's like chain wax. It's basically the same thing, right? So wipe everything down with a thinner first, which is just the mineral spirits, a little bit of lacquer thinner. And I sprayed that stuff on with my rag and just wiped it in. And it'll keep it from getting worse, right? It looks a little nicer, but it'll also just keep it from just kind of that oxidation and that rust that's all over it. Since we got a lot of the rust off up here with the Scotch-Brite and the acid. And especially these areas, because I'm going to want to acid treat and wire wheel, and we'll probably put rusty metal primer on it, and then we'll body work it and we'll make it pretty. But that's down the road, right? So with the rag soaking wet with some mineral spirits, right? Just wiping spray it, wipe it on, and I'll do it again. This is just its first coat. It really sucked it in.
1 hour later.
Here's one of the belts, right? So it's a 1/2 inch wide belt. And I put a mark here, and then I used to have some of these tapes. My mom had some, but I don't know, maybe my ex-wife has it. But I bought one of these. These are really inexpensive, right? And they retract. And you just wrap it around, okay, until you get back to the mark. And this comes out to be about 36 3/4. My guess is it's a 36-inch belt. I'm looking online, and common size is a 36, 37, etc. And I put a 35 in here, but it's 3/8. See, it doesn't fit in the pulley right. But there's plenty of room and swing on this idler pulley. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to order two 36-inch long belts measured around the outside by 1/2 inch. It's a Type A or Class A V belt. I got the fuel filter in. I used one of these small plastic ones that I can see, so I can monitor it, and I moved it sort of back here out of the way, but I also noticed that this is starting to abrade here, right? So we're going to try to deal with that. So we want something that comes about there. And we'll take some of this old 3/4 hose. Now I'm going to split it lengthwise, and we're going to tie wrap that there. Pinch it and use my razor blade. Now we should be able to put this right here, and then now not just about stay there, but we'll put some tie wraps on. Done. Now, for those of you that are wondering if the Cosmoline is sticky or anything, no, it's dry, right? Especially the way I put it on. All right, so I decided I'm going to put this panel back. There's a bolt that goes in the middle, and that's too hard to get to, so we're going to put the two ends. But what's missing are in here, and there's a bracket down in there that's actually missing these type of captive nuts. So I got this hardware. Let's put that in. Also, this connector and that connector, I pulled those apart, cleaned them out, blew them out, put some chain wax in there. They seem good. Some of this stuff here, we're going to put some of the corrosion inhibitor on, right? So because it's been cleaned and acid washed and whatever, and we'll just wipe it down later. But yeah, I'm going to hit as much as I can and start closing it up. Alright, let's let it down. It's getting cleaner. Definitely getting cleaner. Going over a lot of the points. I'm not seeing any more drippage down there. So I actually found the missing bulb socket, but it's missing, there's a little tab that goes over here. So the wire is down here for it. There's a little tab that goes in. So we'll fix that another day. This, I cleaned the connectors, There is impedance on this counter, and there's power here, but I'm not getting anything. I took all the bulbs out, the sockets, replaced the one burned out one. There was a nest in one of them, so that's out of the way now. I cleaned them and I put the chain wax on, or the corrosion inhibitor. That's all good. We sprayed this, a little bit of clear. This got cleaned, and a little bit of Armor All. This sprayed. Let's take a look. I did the bulbs down there. Okay, so I got to put them back. Same thing there. Clean them out. Do what you got to do. Right. We now have front PTO light. We have to test that later. Okay, so this is all looking real clean. This got bolted on properly. I put those new bolts in, those captive nuts. I guess now I'm going to take the battery out, right? And we're going to go in there, and I want to make sure I can clean the reed switches for the neutral safety. And then I can clean the connectors and spray them, lube them, and put that back. And then we'll see about spraying black just in that one area. Here's all the connectors here. So I'm cleaning these. They were really dirty. I started blowing them out. I cleaned them with brake cleaner. Also, there's the switch back there. I don't know if you can, yeah, you can see it. That's it. Right? So I'm going to blow off the, right now it's got that acid on it, the aluminum bright. I'm going to blow all that off, put on plenty of chain wax, and reassemble. And I had to unbolt the top a little bit to kind of get in there. The top connector was almost impossible to get to. So let's keep moving. Yay. Right, and if I sprayed the hood one more time, it's like Armor All for tractors. So if you want, you can take a dry towel and just buff it, right? That'll buff it down so that there's no residue or anything. But wait, let it dry for a while. Alright, the lights are on. Okay, now we can take the battery out. We'll get a look at it later. It's missing, I'm going to leave the side panels off for a while. And we want to get in here and clean too, so that's going to have to stay off for now. This will have to come back off again in order to get that on. But, we got to work on the tractor. Okay, before I disconnect the battery, let's just run it for a few minutes while the windows and everything are open, doors. Alright, brake is on. Let's feel how that brake goes. Oh, that feels better. Oh, yeah. And again, we'll get it. We got to do back here still, but I didn't get there yet. That feels pretty good. And then this feels like it's locking properly. Choke out. Choke needs a little bit of, and the choke is, I don't think, yeah, it's sticky and it needs more adjustment. So choke is out. Let's pull the RPMs down a little bit. We're in neutral. Been hard starting, so there's no fuel in it. Choke's all the way out. There we go. Choke in a little bit. Pull choke out. Get a little bit more throttle. That still seems pretty hard. The transmission. Yeah. She's still got some issues. See any tranny fluid pissing out anywhere? Let's pull this adjustment screw out a little bit. If I can get to it, yeah. Close to that Well, she's idling okay. Gotta warm up. Pump sounds. Alright, we gotta add more tranny fluid. Alright. It's a good start. Let me add some tranny fluid. There's gook on the bottom of the battery and there's liquid there. So we want to get that off. I don't know, I boiled the battery. It could be battery acid. It could just be water from rain sitting there. But that's kind of the idea. Let's get that up and dry it off, and we'll shoot black on it a little bit.
Day 3.
One of the things I like to keep around, if you guys can, I like to keep some old tubes. And I had a friend of mine that, when he used to live here, he used to work for a company, and he used to give me his truck tubes. Really useful, right? I still have some left. I cut a patch here to fit in here. It'll reduce vibration and chafing. Painted the tray, which is, a really thick tray. But, over time, I drilled a little hole, right? Just a small one. I put a little extra paint there down on it, just to seal the edges. But over time, the battery is rubbing and vibrating on the steel, and so even if you paint it between that and the elements, right, it's going to wear, and so you're going to get rust. So anything you can do, and a little rubber pad, very helpful for something like this. Also, rubber like that can be useful for chafing, anti-chafing strips, right? We used to call them at Grumman, or things of that nature, right? Because we had different names for them, but that was a general term. So you see I used a piece of hose over here. But you could, for other flat areas or corners, right? It's useful to have that stuff around. We know we want to get in here and do something. I found another spot in there. So just tips. All right, let's check the PTO. Let's see if it will work. We're in neutral. It should work. All right. Yep. It's working. Let's see. Take a look. Yeah, I ordered the belts. Let it run a little bit. It's not aligned right. Yeah, totally not aligned well. Not sure what's going on there. I definitely found some floaters in here already. We'll have to get that tank cleaned out. Alright guys, I think that was a success for the day. For the weekend, past couple of days really. I spent 3-4 days on it and we got a lot done. Had a lot of fun doing it. We got a lot further on it. Stay tuned for some more stuff coming up on this thing. We got more stuff to do, carburetor, a few other things, and we're going to make that push rod or lift rod. I really enjoyed working on it, and I can't say enough. I'm really happy. Thanks Mike, thanks to everybody that's been commenting on this thing. Some of you guys that one fellow has a few of them. He says he has 3, and I don't say people's names unless they want me to, because some people don't like that. So you know, if you don't really have permission, you really shouldn't do it. But anyway, thank you to everybody watching and commenting, and definitely comment some more. I want to hear some more of the stories. I'm learning a lot about the tractor, as you can tell. I'm getting more information on it as well, and it's starting to really kind of come up. I'll see you guys on the next one. Stay tuned for some more. You gotta like climb off the thing. Get it later. Arch's Garage. Like and subscribe.